Actually, we were charmed by the idea Andrew Ng presented in his TED Talk, how AI could empower any business, until we started to analyze it.
In this video, we will show you how we do the evaluation on potential startup ideas based on the basic principles also taught by the YC Startup School.
And how we apply them to the ideas Andrew Ng presented in his TED Talk. Hi, I'm Vlad.
Hi, my name is Benjamin. And maybe you're in the situation of searching for ideas of your startup. So did we. In this video, we will discuss how we judge if a startup idea is worth to evaluate in more detail or to dismiss upfront. But first of all, let's define what we actually mean by a startup. So in my opinion, there is one important property of a startup that distinguishes it from just general entrepreneurship, and this is scalability. If you would start a, let's say, coffee shop, this is not necessarily a startup. Usually this would be considered just as entrepreneurship.
Which in itself is nothing bad, right?
Oh no, it's not bad. But if you actually start a coffee shop chain with the goal to grow large and fast to absorb a big fraction of the total market, then this company in its beginnings would be considered a startup.
And there it becomes interesting. What are the business ideas and models that can actually scale? And what would be the right ideas, considering timing, personal resources, existing or emerging markets? To systematically evaluate all startup ideas that you might have, you need some tools. And after reading quite some startup books and watching valuable content available nowadays, such as Y Combinator Startup School, I think there are two main questions you should ask briefly to assess your business ideas in the first hand.
Yeah, the two main questions you should focus on are early indications of potential product market fit, as well as indications or contradictions of founder market fit.
Yeah, you're right. I also find it most beneficial to check ideas very roughly using these two concepts, product market fit and founder market fit. But what is meant by product market fit?
Oh, very good and important question, Vlad. I would say for product market fit, first of all, you want to watch out if you are solving an actual problem. You know, when I wrote my first paper, I had a so nice technology in there. And the first review I got from some experienced researcher was, you have a hammer looking for a nail. And this is so true also if it comes to startup ideas of technical founders. You are excited about some technology and you want to show the world what you can do. But actually no one would later on use your tech, app or whatever you build because you do not solve an actual problem.
I remember this quote of Paul Graham, co-founder of Y Combinator. It sounds obvious to say you should only work on problems that exist. And yet, by far, the most common mistake startups make is to solve problems no one has. And even if you have identified a problem, there remains the question, is it a relevant one? Do people care if you solve it? Or are they already satisfied with the existing solution? And it really helps if you experience the problem yourself, your first customer.
And of course, have in mind the question how many people have this problem, how big the market could be. You remember we are looking for business ideas that could scale. For example, I did a business where we developed some software that counted honeybees. There's a huge pain in this area, but the market is limited to maybe 100 customers worldwide. So you cannot really scale. It's a nice side hustle, but not a startup.
And next you would ask, what is my solution? Are people willing to pay? Is the problem not painful enough, or the solution brings only too little value? Remember, sometimes people say they would pay for something, but are actually not doing it in reality. For example, everyone seems to be committed to avoid climate change, but when it comes to actions, people rarely do it. This is something called the attitude-behavior gap. So the question you want to ask is, how realistic is that people would want my solution?
Having an already existing market with competitors could already indicate that there is a real problem and also that people want to have a solution.
Yes, these are the things you want to look for when you're very roughly assessing the potential for the product market fit. But what's your take on the founder market fit? I think this is less known.
Oh yeah, you're so right, Vlad. Besides product market fit, you would also like to check if you are the right founder or if you have a team of founders that could nail the idea you have. The basic questions are, what would be my solution to the problem? Am I or are we the right persons to deliver on that solution? For example, am I appropriately educated in the necessary technology? Or do I have anyone in the team that knows the market, has already future customer relations, knows key persons and companies along the way? Since sometimes you identify an awesome opportunity with a huge pain and a potential huge adoption of your solution by the market, but you're not the right person to deliver on it. If you follow such an idea anyhow, it will feel tedious and you most probably will not succeed.
Oh, there comes to my mind this perfect example that I encountered recently about a Belgian shot putter that jumped in for some colleagues in hurdling that dropped out due to some injury. And if she wouldn't do that, they would be disqualified. But this girl, although being an amazing sportswoman in her discipline, was really bad fit in the running the obstacle course. So you want to watch out if you and your team are a good fit for the startup idea. Another question you would ask in this context is, do I as a founder have some unfair advantage in this area? And unfair advantage is everything that helps you to perform better than anyone else, and it's difficult for others to obtain. Examples of unfair advantage could be access to key customers or technology, exclusive market access, as well as broad reach as a content creator.
To wrap it up, product market fit and founder market fit are the two main topics you would like to focus on to very quickly dismiss or keep some of the ideas you have. And using these two main questions, Vlad and I, we started just as a lot of different business and startup ideas, sometimes really crazy ones, such as an AI-driven telephone hotline for lonely elderly people, such they can communicate with someone or somewhat.
Or can you remember the business idea that we had about this recipe app that would find optimal meals for healthy diet, also taking into account your health status, your preferences, the preferences of the whole family. And this is basically a huge optimization problem based on the food, on the drug data. And this was also the time when we stumbled upon this TED Talk from Andrew Ng, a famous Stanford professor and the founder of Coursera, the educational platform. In this TED Talk, he presents his vision for long-tail AI solution, basically an AI-driven platform for any business, especially small companies that are not able to employ their own data scientists. An idea he's involved in with the company called Landing.ai.
Yes, and admiring Andrew and what he did so far, we directly fell in love with his business idea. It seemed like one of these amazing markets that sometimes only gain little attention. Something like the story of shovel sellers in the gold rush of the 19th century. The people digging for gold rarely became rich, but the guys selling the tools were the actual winners of the gold rush. So let's watch a few moments of Andrew's TED Talk and then apply the basic tools we just learned.
Let me illustrate with an example. Many weekends, I drive a few minutes from my house to a local pizza store to buy a slice of Hawaiian pizza from the gentleman that owns his pizza store. And his pizza's great, but he always has a lot of cold pizza sitting around, and every weekend some different flavor of pizza is out of stock. But when I watch him operate his store, I get excited because by selling pizza, he is generating data. And this is data that he can take advantage of if he had access to AI. AI systems are good at spotting patterns when given access to the right data. And perhaps an AI system could spot if Mediterranean pizzas sell really well on a Friday night, maybe could suggest to him to make more of it on a Friday afternoon. Now you might say to me, hey Andrew, this is a small pizza store, what's the big deal? And I say to the gentleman that owns this pizza store, something that could help him improve his revenues by a few $1,000s a year, that will be a huge deal to him. If you were to take all current and potential AI projects and sort them in decreasing order of value and plot them, you get a graph that looks like this. Maybe the single most valuable AI system is something that decides what ads to show people on the internet. Maybe the second most valuable is a web search engine. Maybe the third most valuable is an online shopping product recommendation system. But when you go to the right of this curve, you then get projects like t-shirt product placements or t-shirt demand forecasting or pizzeria demand forecasting. And each of these is a unique project that needs to be custom built. There is an emerging new way to build AI systems that will let more people participate. Just as pen and paper, which are a vastly superior technology to stone, tablet, and chisel, were instrumental to widespread literacy, there are emerging new AI development platforms that shift the focus from asking you to write lots of code to asking you to focus on providing data, and this turns out to be much easier for a lot of people to do. Platforms like these will probably still need a few more years before they're easy enough to use for every pizzeria owner. But many of these platforms are coming along, and some of them are getting to be quite usable to someone that is tech savvy today with just a bit of training.
Okay, so to judge if this would be a good startup idea, as we initially thought, let's check if we can find signals of a product market fit. Do we actually see a pull from the long-tail AI users? Is there a large enough pain such that the proposed solution of an AI platform would be adopted? Let's take Andrew's example of demand forecast for a bakery, and let's put us in the shoes of a baker. Obviously, there is a problem estimating the demand of bread for the next day such that there is minimal overproduction, but also customers are not disappointed when not getting their favorite product. But how is this problem currently solved? Well, the baker tries to avoid running out of products by limiting the amount of food that you could pre-order, or in case of overproduction, some pieces are sold the next day with a lower price. This is not a perfect solution, but it seems to do the job.
So it all boils down to the question, if with some improved AI forecast, the baker could save enough money to cover the invest in the AI solution, additional work of feeding the model with the necessary data on a daily basis, training of employees, and so on. Here it becomes quite unlikely that some long-tail bakery, so not the big bread factory, would jump on the train. The pain might not be large enough. But why did Andrew then select this example? Why not telling some awesome success story? Well, probably since there is no such story yet to tell. And the same we see when we look at the page of Landing.ai. A lot of proposed problems, but no successful adoption. This, for example, could be the indication that there is no proper market for this product. A hammer searching for a nail.
But let's judge on the founder market fit. What do we find here? Speaking for two of us, startup nerds, we might have the technical background to build such an AI platform, but we would have difficulties to market the product, since there seems to be at least a huge demand for the market to be educated, such that customers become aware of the pain they might have. Hence, we conclude for us, we would not be the right founders for this type of idea. Maybe Andrew and his team are better suited due to their unfair advantage, a huge reach, and financial assets. But there is another idea for which we have founder market fit, and there are even some indications of product market fit. In fact, we believe in it so much that we started to work on it. We will tell you all about this idea and our journey of developing this product and building a company in the next videos. So we hope to see you there.